Hi, this is Joey with Rustic Country Farms. I've made a few videos. I'm very new to this. We had a video on how to fix a fence, something that I guess I wasn't a professional at it when I first started. I guess you just never are. It takes time to learn these things. But my point of this program is to get you guys at least to the point where I am, a few things on how to raise animals and run a farm. I grew up around the farm genre, I guess you could say. My grandfather on both sides of my family, grandparents, I should say, were great farmers, and I learned a lot of things from them. But, aside from farm finances and what it really takes all together to run a farm on your own is a totally different story. We've been doing this this will be our 5th year now. We raise grass-fed beef, pastured pork. We raise chickens for meat. We raise chickens for eggs. And then we have some goats just for fun on the side. Just a little background story. We bought a farm. We lived just in town, relatively close to the farm prior, and we just traveled back and forth because there was no home on the farm at all to begin with. So our intentions were that we were going to build a house, which is the house that I'm sitting in now. It needs plenty more to be finished, but we're conservative people with our money, and call it smart or dumb, I don't know. But we did all the drywall work. We've done all the plastering. Call it good or bad, I don't know, but I can say that we've saved a lot of money so far, and it's going to be a nice house when we're done. So that's kind of our background. I just had the itch to do this, like I said, because I had such great influences with my grandparents back years ago. Mainly my mother's father, my grandpa Adam. He just had a real passion for farming, and he inspired me that the hard work pays off, and it's just a lot of fun, and family can just get involved in it, and it just it's a great thing to do. Today I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about my initial start, and then I wanted to talk about raising bottle calves. We've done a lot of different things. As I mentioned, we still are doing those things that I had mentioned, but the bottle calves kind of started last year, and we ended up rounding it into this year. Essentially, we buy calves, typically off of farms locally, or if need be, auctions. Not recommended. If possible, get them off of farms, but sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. And I wanted to talk about the things that I've learned. If you're going to raise calves at all, whether they come off of mom and mom doesn't take to them, or whether you buy them off of a farm or you buy them out of an auction, this is going to be something you're going to want to know. My apologies, I'm not feeling the greatest this week, so we're just chugging along. So just to kind of look at my notes here, if you're going to, whether you're going to buy your cattle from an auction or not, a good place to first look is at the auction, and not for calves. What I mean by that is there's a lot of people that they call cattle jockeys, and if you go to your local or closest livestock auction, there's going to be people there that are well known for buying calves or cattle, pigs, various animals, and distributing them to people. So they're basically just looking for animals that people have in mind to buy. So that's a key point right there, because these people have a lot of power, as opposed to like you just going to an auction or stopping at a farm. Sometimes you can snag a deal, but it's going to be hard in the long run to continue to make these deals as good as these guys can do it, because that's what they do for a living. So once you find someone that is in that wheelhouse, you tell them what you're going to want. Let's just say, we purchased, I'll just give you an example based off of us, and it can go differently if you want to, just depends on your budget. If you want Holstein calves, you would tell your cattle jockey, hey, I'm looking for Holstein calves. You can say whether you want bulls or heifers, and sometimes if you know the market is typically heifers are going to go for less money than bull calves. There's going to be more demand for bull calves. That's why. So if you don't care either way, if you're raising them for yourself, there's different opinions out there on it, but there's nothing wrong with, in my opinion, raising heifers for beef, especially at first until you get started. So typically, once you get that narrowed down, your cattle jockey will go to the auction or to local farms and find you your animals, the set number of animals that you want. Once you obtain the animals, he or she is going to drop them off at your farm, and on the very first day, you're going to want to do meds. We do Enforce 3, which is a respiratory. It's just basically a spray in the nose, kind of like a nasal spray you would take. And then we also do a navel dip, which is actually, it's kind of deceiving way of saying it, but it's just a spray, iodine spray that you would spray on the navel, belly button. Infection can settle in there, so you want to take care of that right away. Something else that you'd want to do, probably, it depends. It really depends. Dehorning, you can burn them, or you can use a cream that will sort of do the same thing. It's all up to you on that, whatever you'd prefer. I would say the cream is probably the easier of the two. You just shave the area where the horn bud is and locate that. And there's instructions online on that, but there's a vein that follows right up to that horn bud, and you can put that paste on there, and use your discretion on the instructions. Obviously, just double check that and make sure you're doing it correctly based off of the instructions of each package. But so that's something that you're going to want to do, because if you are selling these calves at any point in time, people are going to want the horns gone. They're not going to want that there. If you have bull calves, you're going to want to, and these are very key things, I would say, you're going to want to castrate those bull calves right away. Again, people do not want, typically, unless you have a customer that already says, okay, I want a bull, people are going to want them castrated. That's something that you can call your local vet on. They can show you the steps on doing it. At least in our area, if we call our vet, they're going to want to try to save you as much money as possible, because if you had somebody come out every single time to do this stuff, if you're doing it on a regular basis, it could get expensive. So with that being said, and we can do another video on the castration part of it and the dehorning part, but those are the very first steps to get your calves ready to go up on their feet. The other thing I would say would be, there's going to be calves, especially coming out of auction, that are going to need a little bit more help, additional help other than the other ones. There's going to be some that just take off just fine. Calves can be very temperamental when it comes to their health. It can change very quickly. And it also depends on time of the year. If you're in a snowy, cold environment, north, or if you're south, I guess I can't give you the greatest advice on that, but I would say try as hard as you can to stay away from cold and wet or damp, humid environments. If you're south, I would imagine, indoors with fans and all kinds of fun stuff like that to kind of keep them cool. Calves cannot maintain their body temperature at first. At least the first month is probably going to be your toughest time there. Little things like that will take a calf down pretty quickly. So, just for example, in the summertime, if I am raising calves in a hot and humid environment, it's my business. I have to do it all year round. I'm going to keep them cool with fans. I'm going to keep water available to them, whether it be in the bottle that they drink their milk out of, or in a bucket close by. I would also recommend electrolytes in the water. If you're not going to leave water available at all hours of the day, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes when you're working, if you're off the farm, if you have an off the farm income as well. So you're going to want to at least, in between feedings on your days off, or if somebody, maybe your wife is home or husband, whatever the situation might be, as much as you can, try to push electrolyte into a bottle or a bucket and trying to get them to get some of that in. And that's good. Right off the bat, day one, I do not feed milk replacer, just because sometimes you end up kind of shooting yourself in the foot because you got calves that maybe they finish a full bottle there, but it's kind of a good thing to get them started really hungry, if that makes sense, because if they're not going to eat for you, they're not going to survive. So get them on a empty tummy. That's my suggestion. Electrolytes day one, not a bad idea. A lot of times these calves are thirsty. They are dehydrated. They've been going through the auction. They've been sitting on a trailer. They've been stressed out. So getting hydration is going to be good for them. When it comes to a milk replacer, you can go to a local feed mill, and they're typically going to have a pretty good brand. You can do your research on that. The milk replacer is going to be probably one of your biggest purchases. If you add it up over a certain amount of calves or number of calves, it can add up pretty quick. It's typically, for a 40 or 50 pound bag, it's typically anywhere from $60 to $80 per bag. And each calf, typically from start to weaning, is going to go through a bag. So you can kind of do the math on that. What you pay to go back, what you pay for calves is going to be dictated based off of your market in your area, and kind of what breed you're looking for and all that. For Holstein calves, I could say that we've paid anywhere between $80 and $150 per calf, which is leaves a pretty good profit margin if everything is done right. So with the milk replacer, I would suggest starting off slow. Day one, maybe you start. There's typically a bottle that's 4 pints. Excuse me. 4 pints, and that bottle is going to get a not hot, not cold temperature of water, and then you'll mix that with your milk replacer. Typically, and this is kind of just what I've used, and it seems to work good for me. You can set an exact temperature, but old school farmer from around here told me if it burns your finger, it's too hot. So you want to be just below that where it's not going to burn your fingers. Every single day, especially in the beginning, you're going to want to watch these calves day in and day out, because like I said, their health can change very quickly. You could have a calf that's doing really well, drinking all of its milk, and then the next, maybe in the morning it's doing well. It drank all of its milk, for example. That night, you go back out there and you go to feed that same calf, and that calf's not going to eat. And it's going to look weak, and things are not going to look good. Right then and there, if you're at that point, there's times where it's just too late already. So you need to be very vigilant on what you're looking at when you're looking at these calves. You got to inspect them day in and day out, hour on the hour if you can. Don't over obsess over it, but it's good to just look. What does the manure look like? Is it yellow? Is it bloody? These things start to pop up where you have a lot of calves will have scours. Scours is a very upset stomach, and diarrhea. And diarrhea to the point where they will not absorb any nutrients, resulting in death. With that being said, a good thing to do as well is to introduce grain basically right away. They get acquainted to it. They might munch on hay a little bit here and there. That diet's not going to be primary until, could be between a month and 2 months, or a month and 3 months. The grain should start to become part of their diet pretty early on, maybe 1 to 2 weeks. They should at least be dabbling in that. That helps them put on a little bit of fat. It'll help them, their digestive system, that will help with the diarrhea as well. Typically, I've noticed that it's going to be a little bit more solid stool with that, which is good. You want consistency, brown, consistency of stool. That's similar to what you'd see in a larger cow. Of course, right away, don't feel bad. It's very normal to have, just like a baby, an infant. They're going to have a odd-looking stool very early on. These calves are generally pretty young to begin with. So you've got all of those things in mind. The other thing I would say would be key importance. When you get the calves, you have your pen set up. You do not want the calves to be right next to each other. At least for the first 4 weeks, you want them at least one pen separate, if not further. They could be carrying illnesses that can spread rapidly between all of your calves. And if you've got a number of calves between 5 and 10, or even more or less, I don't know, but no matter what the situation is, you want to keep the calves separate. You don't want them licking faces, because if you put them next to each other, they'll start licking on each other, and then germs are going to spread quickly. The other thing, a key note to mention on that, I've not had any issues with it, but I will say, I have children, and I care about myself too, and my wife. You're going to want to wash your hands. These calves do carry illnesses that can contract humans. So you're not going to want to put yourself in that situation where you're not washing your hands and then you rub in your eyes and all of a sudden you've got something. Something that no one really thinks about, but it can be hard to overcome that. So using gloves rubber or latex gloves is always good. to get calves started, I guess I would say I'd have a pack of gloves available at all times, because these calves, they don't always know how to drink out of a bottle right off the bat, day one. These calves are probably gonna they're probably gonna look around at a bottle, even though you've got it in their face. It seems very obvious to you that, oh, that's there for them to drink. They have no idea. So that's a challenge. Sometimes they learn quickly and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it takes up to a week for them to realize that, obviously you're going to have to stand there and get that milk in them, or those electrolytes in them. That's going to be the time-consuming part. So you're going to have to be available and willing to sit and be patient and caring for the animals, or it's not going to work out. If you don't have patience, it's not going to happen. So I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to give you all the information. I think I've given you some good key info on what to do there. It's like I said, don't stick your fingers in one calf and go to the next. Have them lick your fingers and stuff like that. Change your gloves if you're going to do that. It seems wasteful, but you're going to want to do it. What's another good key takeaway? So I'll give you the next steps which we take. We get them on milk 4 weeks. That's the halfway point for us. We sell our calves when they're weaned at 8, 9, 10 weeks. If you're raising them for yourselves, it's still going to be good practice. 4 weeks, they're separated in pens. After 4 weeks, given that all of them are in great health, if they got a cough, or if one of them has a cough, that one's got to go separate. You got to separate those. The others can remain together. At that point, you can put the herd together. And then it makes things a little bit easier for you too. If you have a water stock tank, they can all drink out of that water stock tank. You don't have to give everyone separate things. If you've got a feed trough, you can start feeding grain in there. You can feed them all the milk in the trough all at once. Once you get past those illnesses and things like that. Speaking of illnesses, if you've got a calf that has anything going on, a cough, sneeze, if you've noticed this, right away, immediately, get them on a Draxxin. I'm trying to think of some of the brands. I haven't actually had to use any antibiotics recently. But talk to your local vet. You're going to need to get signed up with them so that you can get antibiotics. You can get things like that on the ready. On the fly, and some of these other medications like the Enforce 3 on day one and so forth. Nuflor is another really good product for antibiotic, but you're going to want to have a vet's going to have to come out to your farm and get you established with them so that you can order these medications. But again, I can't stress it enough. If you notice anything, respiratory, snot hanging out of their nose, heavy breathing, coughing, just lethargic, ears drooping down, head down, these at the very earliest stages, you want to get them on an antibiotic unless you are against that, but in those cases, maybe there's some more homeopathic ideas to get them over that, but I have not found that anything's going to work better than an antibiotic. It's not, these animals are not going to be processed anytime soon, so, antibiotic-free can be important to some people, I understand that, but I just need to save the animal. That's my main goal. So, with that being said, I would say that's my key takeaways on it. If you guys want more information on how we got started, I could take you through steps and I may make a video on this regardless. A through Z on buying a property, going through the Farm Service Agency, filling out the paperwork, talking with your local Farm Service Agency, picking out a property, you know, and if there's a home on the property or something that needs to be renovated, we did everything on our house aside from framing it and laying the concrete. So, you know, general contracted everything and did a lot of the work ourselves. So there's a lot of good info there too if you guys need help on that. If I would have had, you know, and I did use some information off of others, but I could tell you, I guess if I would have had a video, something like this, and we can narrow it down, you guys can request stuff. But for calves, I know there's other people out there having trouble. These things are going to help you, you know, and if there's more, message me. There's other things that we could talk about. It is Joey at Rustic Country Farms. We have a Facebook page out there, so you can add us on there. You can message us on there. If there's other things that you have questions about, I promise you I know more than just this. So there's a lot more involved to the whole thing here, and I'm probably going to miss things along the way. Just being a forgetful person, busy person. All right, well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope the video wasn't too long. Hope it was good. Thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Have a good one, guys.